But a couple things I want you to think about. Number one, when you're looking from the facial, so if this is your eye and you're looking at a tooth, if a tooth is very flat, so that there's no real change from the cervical to the mid-body to the incisal third, and it's a very flat tooth, the tooth is going to ultimately look very long and very tall because you don't have much contour coming into the tooth. It's going to be very flat, and so the light's going to hit it, and it's going to reflect back at you, creating the image of a long tooth. Now, you may want to create that flat tooth if you have a short tooth and you're trying to make it look longer. So that can be a way to help with that. Now, if you have in a more natural situation where there's more contour, you have a cervical contour, a mid-body where it's going to be a little flatter, and then the incisal contour, the light's going to reflect up from that cervical and reflect down from that incisal third, ultimately making the tooth look a little shorter in appearance. So we'll use that to our advantage. So if we're dealing with a patient that has a particularly long tooth, I may add more contour to make it look a little bit shorter so it doesn't look as long. So this is our techniques for you to consider when you're building out. But generally speaking, when I'm building my veneers, I want to have a slight cervical contour. It's going to get a little bit flatter in the mid-body, and then we're going to have an incisal contour that's going to come back towards the mouth. We need those three contours to make the teeth look natural. That's looking from a profile. The second thing I want to look at is that when we're looking from the incisal view and we're looking at the line angles. So I'm showing both from the facial view and from the incisal view. When you have a very flat tooth from mesial to distal, that's going to make the tooth look wider. So the light of deflection is just in these little zones right in here. Most of the light is going to reflect back at us, and the tooth is going to have a wider appearance to it. If we create these lines of or height of contours and these light deflection zones that you can see here, even though these two teeth, these illustrations, are the same size of the tooth, the one where we can start to see the shadowing occur because of the light deflection zones, this tooth will look more narrow than when we look at this tooth. So that's important for you to understand and consider as you're making your teeth, as you're creating your teeth, is to create these light deflection zones. Have these height of contours and have the light deflect into the interproximal, which will ultimately make your teeth look more natural because it'll have a more narrow and more natural appropriate shape and not look too fat, especially in that cervical third.